everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Erica and I'm finally getting to the final video of the Worth Gown bodice for the evening bodice. And this completes the entire project, which I started quite a while ago. So I'm really excited to finally be getting this up, to finally be showcasing it. I'm very proud of this entire project from start to finish. There was so much problem solving and so much to figure out with working with a flat image, because that is all I had. And maybe one day I will get to the Met, but that is not at this stage of my life. So for now, I was working off of a picture or several pictures, and I'm so proud of it. So without any more talking, let's dive right into making the bodice. So the first thing I ended up doing was putting the cording on those flaps of the front and going ahead and getting those flaps done. So if you will remember, the cording is in a double layer, so this was tricky and it took a while to get it on. And then I sewed the lining to it, clipped all the corners and curves and turned it right side out and ironed it out. And then I was able to put those aside to start on the actual dress. One side did end up a little bit smaller than the other, but it's fine. Okay, all the pieces are flatlined, and spoiler, I didn't do it by hand. I did it by machine with a basting stitch, and you know what? The pieces were small enough that it worked just fine. But I needed to make some tracks, and doing it by hand was going to take too long. So here we go. Also, I have gone ahead and sewn the center back seams together and the first side back to back, just because I had a bobbin that was, not a bobbin, a spool that was about to finish up, and I wanted to go ahead and get the new one on before I went to bed tonight. That way when I get up tomorrow and start this, I can just dive right into it without having to thread the machine. So the next thing to do is to finish constructing all the seams. So obviously I am not going to sew these seams together. This is the center front, and they are buttonholes there. I don't know yet whether or not I am going to cut another strip of purple and sew it right sides together to then flip it, or if I'm just going to flip it. I will get to that later. First, my mock-up was in just the cotton, and the reason I'm doing it that way is because it still does have somewhat of a give and somewhat of a stretch. As you add layers, the stretch is going to be more challenging. This purple does not really stretch, so before I make the decision on the closure here, I'm going to get the whole thing together. Then I will try it on again to make sure that I get this measurement accurate. After all the main seams were sewn and clipped and ironed, I took this old waistband off of an old project that I had done that worked as a really nice boning casing, and hand stitched that down to each of the seams on the inside. I used spiral steel on the curved ones, and then I did the exact same thing to the lining and pinned them right sides together and sewed them all along the front edges and the neckline edges, leaving open the bottom edge and the arm side edges. Once that was done, I clipped them all again and understitched the top edge and the side edges, turned it right side out, and got it ironed out flat. Again, pinning on 2 layers of cording to the bottom, pinned it right sides together to the front, turned it up, and then I also had to put the flaps in at this point. And then once that was all turned in and under, I turned the lining in on the other side to encase all of the raw edges. And at that point, I hand stitched the entire bottom seam closed because I really didn't want a line of stitching visible on the exterior of the bodice right there. And I'm really pleased with how it turned out. Those were pretty tricky to get lined up exactly, but it got done. Okay, I don't know what I said before about the sleeves, but based off of the image here, I don't have much to work with. Obviously, again, I cannot see the interior of the garment, so I'm not 100% sure. But from what I can tell on this little area right there is that there is no lining on the sleeve, which is funny because I did cut out lining pieces at first, but that's okay. I patched them together and I don't need to use them. So now the plan is to just leave the lining pieces off. So I have my 2 sleeves, and what I think I'm going to do for the seam, again, I'm just guessing because I don't know, is I'm going to do the seam and then I'm going to fell it down. Do a felled seam, and then honestly, I think I'm going to fell it to either side. So rather than ironing both ends over to one side and then cutting one down and felling it on top, I think I'm just going to turn each side under and fell it down that way, just so that it's even on the bulk. It's going to go under the arm, so it doesn't really matter that much, but this isn't the thinnest fabric, so that's kind of what I want to do. And it's going to have the tulle on top of it, so you're not going to see it. Once the sleeve seams were sewn and felled down, then I ran a gathering stitch along the top and bottom of the tulle that went on top of the sleeve. Now I did end up hemming the bottom of the sleeve with a turn and turn hem before I actually put it on, but what I'm doing right here is just running that gathering stitch along the tulle, which was kind of hard to get visible on the camera. Okay, I've done one. I'll show some of the process on the other, but I showed putting the gathering stitches on the tulle. I actually had to take them back out of the bottom and then rerun them a little bit higher because I put them too low because it was going off the edge of the sleeve there. But I love this. This looks very much, I mean, obviously this is not discolored. I don't know for certain, but I'm gonna guess that the reason the other one's more orangey is because it's discolored with time, and that cream, because cream is, it seems to be the theme around the dress. So that's what I'm going with. That's what I had, and I think it looks pretty accurate. So one thing that I was hoping is that I had cut it deep enough that once I hemmed up the sleeve, I could use it, because there's like another little layer of it scrunched on top of here, but I didn't. And I'm actually fine with that, because now I'm going to go cut strips, and just little tiny strips, probably about 3/4 of an inch wide, and I will gather it up and stitch it down on top of this, and then it is ready to go in the dress. So this is just the first one. I just wanted to see how it went before I started videoing it. And yeah, you can see the stitching on the underside, but it's on the underside, so I don't care. So this is going to get sewn up into the arm side, but I'm going to go ahead and get the other tool on this one first. Once the tulle was gathered, I then pinned it along the top edge of the sleeve that went into the bodice on both ends, wrapping it around. That way I was able to work off of both ends already being secure to make sure the gathers were even, pinned it all the way down, stitched it all the way down. Also did that again for the bottom of the sleeve. After the bottom was sewn down, I trimmed it to be even all the way around, and then I took a strip of somewhere between 3/4 inch wide of the same tulle, did the exact same process all over again, and then sewed it down to the very bottom edge of the sleeve. Okay, so for the trim around the neck, I didn't have enough tulle to do one continuous strip, but I need a very long strip of gathered tulle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a long gathering stitch down with the machine because it just works better that way for me. And I'm going to be using the purple thread because it's not going to be visible, and that's what's in the machine. And when I get to the next piece, I will just put it on top and keep going with the running stitch. The ribbon in the little, I don't know what I'm trying to say, the ribbon thing that goes on top of it will then be sewn down on top of that line. So that's why that stitching won't be visible. So that's what's next. So on this trim, I did hand stitch the ribbon and its casing down to the tulle by hand, and then I pinned it to the top of the bodice and stitched that down by hand on the inside, with it just a little bit of space in between the black ribbon and its casing and the top of the bodice, because that's what I see on the picture, and I really like how it looks. Okay, I have my test done, and this is with my slant needle Singer, not with the treadle, and I am perfectly happy with that. This is gone over twice with all of the threads. I went through 4 layers to make sure that I was good on my test, and I have now come and marked where all 5 buttonholes will be placed. I used my watermarking pen. It's not really going to matter because once the buttonholes are done, that's going to be in the center and it will be cut out. But this is, I started it, it's not the full width of the buttonhole, but that's where I'm going to start it all the way up, and then we will begin the process of actually, now, not then, I've got to take it over and actually do it. Alright, here it is on my dress form with the dress. And the reason it's on the dress form is I'm going to have to do some type of reveal later because the not feeling well that I think I mentioned in a couple of previous videos turned into a medical issue that is lingering and is causing me a big problem. So I physically do not have the ability to put it on right now. Hopefully that will change. Yeah, so here it is for now on the form. It doesn't fit it as well as it fits me up top, and I was correct that I am not going to be able to hide this particular chemise. So I may not even wear it. I might just wear a tank top at whatever point in time I'm able to put this on. But I am super pleased with it. It is not perfect, but I wasn't going for perfection. Let me turn around here and show the back. It looks so good. I love it so much. And I do want to try it on. Getting all this out and putting it on the dress form made me realize how much, again, I wanted to put it all on. One day soon, hopefully. So I just love how the sleeves turned out. I did want to show it off. I don't know, I might make another chemise to go under it before I end up wearing it. We'll see. But in the meantime, just, they look so good. The buttons, the buttonholes, I can zoom in on those. This is the part that I'm the least pleased with, but I still think it turned out pretty well. I'm pretty sure I did it justice, and that's what I was trying to do. And I'm also not apologizing for the kids stuff everywhere. That is my life, and I make no apologies for it. So, there she is. Thank you so much for joining me for this massive, massive project all the way to this completion. I am so excited that it is finally done. I still do hope, again, like I said a minute ago in the clip, to put it all on and, you know, walk around in it and swoosh around in it, maybe get my husband to take some video. Hopefully if we can get this medical issue under control, then I will be able to do that. Definitely won't be before the first of the year. But if you have stuck around for this whole thing, I'm very grateful for you. I'm so excited to finally show it off. And yeah, it's dreamy, it's absolutely beautiful. I love both bodices. I love the way it looks. This has probably been one of the biggest challenges I have ever put myself through in my sewing room, and I have learned so much through this journey, and I hope it was enjoyable for you to come along as well. I have a couple of small projects coming up. I want to show off my daughter's Halloween costume. I made her Anastasia's coronation dress, and I videoed that. I still have the remake of my wedding dress that I want to put up, and I think I have like maybe one more, and maybe, hopefully, first of the year, I'll get to put on the dress. Anyway, again, I would love to hear your thoughts on it, your comments, and I'll see you in the next one.